Gopher Coaches Show is presented by Window Concepts and Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union. Now, it's the Gopher Coaches Show with Dawn Plitzuweit and Ben Johnson.
Yeah, we're rising up. Welcome into the Gopher Coaches Show. I'm Ahmad, Hicks, joined alongside KFAN's Justin Gaard and head women's basketball coach Dawn Plitzuweit. Coach, I know we just spoke last week. You guys got a big victory, a decisive victory, 26 points over Rutgers. Can you just walk us through how good of a game that was for you and your club?
Well, we knew going into the game that we had to do things differently because we were going to be without the services of Tori McKinney. And so it's one player in a starting rotation, but at the same time, it affects a lot of how we match up. It affects a lot of how we start our defense, how we are attacking on the offensive end. So it had a great impact on us. At the same time, we just got done playing on Sunday against Illinois. So on Monday when we came in, we watched film and we walked through a few things, but we really had only one day to prep for our new look, if you will. And so I give our players an awful lot of credit because while one of the things that Tori does a really good job for us is starts our defense. You know, she picks up the ball and she influences the ball and she slows it down. And that's a really important player against any team. At the same time, Rutgers is a team that plays faster than any team in the country. So now you're in a situation where you haven't really practiced that live the day before the game at a high rate. We practiced it a few times, but we had different players in those situations. And I thought overall our young ladies responded at a very high level.
Have you ever put so much of a workload on a freshman like you're describing about Tori McKinney and her instilling that defensive mentality for the team?
Well, when we have freshmen that are ready to handle that, yes, we do that. And she's been ready to do that.
That's good.
So Amaya Battle obviously handles a lot for you as well, and clearly enjoys playing against Rutgers. 32 points a year ago in the Big Ten tournament, 21 this past Wednesday. So what have you seen from her, you know, now that she's been here a while, and she's going to join us tonight, so we'll probably have you answer that in front of her as well. But the Rutgers game specifically, just another steady game for her.
Well, I thought she did a really good job of really orchestrating us on both ends of the court. And you saw it specifically on the defensive end. You know, she's someone that is back and protecting, and then she's someone who in the third quarter we moved on to Destiny Adams, who we were really having a hard time slowing down. I thought she understood how to guard her and what to do and did as good a job as you possibly can do against her. And that's not easy to do. She's really, really tough. At the same time, Amaya is someone who the ball is in her hands an awful lot for us, pushing up the court. She's someone who attacks in the half court. She's someone who we give the ball to in baseline out of bounds situations. And so she's someone who I think is getting more and more comfortable attacking the rim. We're going to talk about her growth overall offensively, but she's someone who we rely on a great deal on both ends of the court.
And Sophie Hart has her first double-double of the season, finished, you know, early at the rim, then kind of went away from it a little bit, then got back to finishing. I know you talk about finishing at the rim all the time, but how intentional have you guys been with her to really go to her early to establish that inside presence?
Well, it's something that is a major part of how, if you want to be a team that can score the ball offensively, there are a lot of different ways to do it. You're seeing in the NBA now that there are so many teams that are shooting 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus arc shots a game. And so we're a team that we're probably in that 20 to 25 arc shot per game range, and that's pretty typical across the country. At the same time, there are points in time in every game where you got to get the ball around the rim. And you'd love to be able to drive it around the rim. That'd be great, and penetrate that way, get some dribble penetration. But then other teams can still step over and then help late and make you kick it and shoot threes. So you have to have another answer to that. You have to have another way to get the ball inside. And Sophie's someone that we rely heavily on to get the ball inside. And then when you get it there, you've got to make great decisions with it.
Well, she's does a tremendous job at finishing around the paint. I think Sophie Hart doesn't get enough credit for what she does. Let's talk about some of your perimeter players. Alexia Rose, a new player here on the Gophers roster, inserted into the starting lineup for the first time. What has she brought to your team?
Well, she's a little spark plug. You know, she's got a lot of energy to her. She handles the ball at a very high rate for us. She distributes. She creates off of dribble penetration. You know, that has to be a pretty stressful situation.
Sure.
You know, you're inserted into the starting lineup for Tori, and you're expected to do a lot. And I thought she handled that with a great deal of poise. And so I thought she did a great job of helping us in that situation. At the same time, McKenna Johnson had the first opportunity that she's had in a little while, and she was someone who she's really comfortable with what to do on the offensive end with it. And is learning what else she can do in those situations. situations, but she's very comfortable offensively, a lot more comfortable on that end than on the other end. But that's an area where I thought during the course of the game she grew defensively. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it and you understand I have to do this at a better level in order to continue being out here, and she did that. I thought she continued to get better as the game went on.
Now, for those of you who don't remember, McKenna Johnson was an early enrollee last year for the Gophers. What are some of the benefits of a player enrolling early and getting a year under their belt, so to speak?
Well, we talked about it last week. What's the biggest difference between, you know, freshman, your high school career and your freshman year of college, and really that urgency that you have to play with. And so I think that is something that she was acclimated to by going through the second semester of practice in the summer. And so she has a jump start on what it looks like. And the more you hear things, the more you see things, the more you're around it, the more it just becomes natural for you. You don't have to think as much about what you're supposed to be doing, whether that's moving to the ball or whether that's helping in a certain screen or whatever the case is. And I thought she's someone who is starting to click a little bit more, and that's really, really important. That's hard to do for freshmen. It's really hard.
You never have to tell her be shot ready, right? She's ready to shoot, right?
You don't have to do that.
No, and she came in.
Which is great, which is a reason why we love having her on our team.
Totally, and I remember watching her at shoot-arounds on the road a year ago and saying every time she shoots, it looks like it's going in. I mean, it's just a perfect, beautiful, feathery shot. Anuka Stewart also shot ready, right? She comes off the bench and is ready to go. She comes here as a graduate from Nebraska, and I remember looking at the numbers and saying, Anuka Stewart, you know, she played 13 minutes a game as a freshman in Nebraska. That's interesting. What happened? Well, Alexis Markowski showed up. Turns out she's a pretty good player, all Big Ten forever. They just knocked off Michigan State. So what did you think you were getting with Anuka, and what kind of lift has she given you this year? Because she's been, from my view, extremely important.
Well, I think everyone sees Anuka as someone who can really shoot it from the arc, stands out, and she's done that at a high level. What I've been really impressed with is her willingness to get around the rim and make things happen, because we talked about there's a point in time that in every game that you have to get the ball around the rim. And we need a player when Sophie's not in the game to be that player for us. And we can do it with our guards because we have bigger guards, but we also rely on Ani to do that for us. So she puts a lot of pressure on defenses because now she can post up. She can ball screen and roll and post up. She can ball screen and pop, and now you have to figure out who you're going to guard in that situation. But I think the other thing that people don't know about Ani as much as maybe they could is what incredible leadership skills she has brought to us, and how important and how valuable that really is.
When you talk about leadership skills and team togetherness, we always notice after a dead ball, after a foul, your team is always getting together, that huddle. For people at home who don't understand that, why do you guys do that? What is the importance of having that little mini huddle on the court without the coach there?
Well, that's a great question, and actually we practice it in practice, and if it's not tight enough, we do it again. Okay, take two. Huddle up at the free throw. I think there's a lot to be said. When our goal is to have great synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And in order to do that, you have to really feel connected. And a great way to feel connected is actually physically be connected. And there's a way that you help each other play at a higher level in doing that. And you instill confidence in each other while you're doing those type of things. And Ani is someone that, and those are kind of the warm fuzzy ways of being a great leader. And then there's also the, hey, we need to get we need to get a stop. You need to keep your kid off the glass. I need to keep my kid off the glass. Whatever it is, you know, that's the next part of leadership. And I think that's the area where she's starting to do more of that for us right now. And that's great, because within our offense, we as coaches, some of the best leaders that we've had in terms of the best voices and understanding are sometimes our post players. And so that's great. That's great. She understands the game at a high level. From a coach's, she has two parents who are coaches, so she has no choice but to understand the game at a high level. And so she does a tremendous job for us.
Well, I remember John Thompson, the late great Georgetown coach, once told us in an interview that everybody assumes that because the point guard, you know, is looking at the coach and putting up a couple of fingers, they're the smart ones. He goes, I know in a lot of dumb guards. He goes, post players can lead as well. And Anuka, actually, I remember asking her before the season what she hoped to bring from Nebraska, and she hit on that point, being a player-led team. She said Jazz Shelley, their legendary point guard, was one of the best she'd ever been around, and that's what she wanted to bring here. So sounds like that's happening, and now you are a little bit more player-led. We
have to be. You know, I think ultimately during the course of games, and I think in our Illinois game, we talked to the last coaches show about how loud it got in the barn, and which was great. But they couldn't, our players couldn't hear us, and I don't think Illinois' players could hear their bench at the same time. And so at that point in time, you have to be, and Ani was out there during that time, you have to find ways to communicate with each other, to be on the same page, to get stops, to know what's going on the offensive end. And so those are times. Now we go on the road to Maryland this week, and they average, I don't know, somewhere around 8,000, 8,500 fans for their home games. And so now our players are going to have to take that on the road and be great communicators in that realm as well.
When you talk about the Big Ten, normally in the Big Ten you see a couple of teams twice throughout the season. This year you don't. You only see one team twice. Any advantages or disadvantages to that scenario?
Well, it's interesting because didn't really feel the impact of that until after our first Big Ten game, and then you think, okay, well, we'll get them at home. We got to find a way, and then you think, oh, we don't get a chance to play them at home. So then it's a matter of, okay, now we have to do a really good job of being ready. You get one opportunity, that's it. And you got to do the best that you can with that opportunity, whether that's at home or on the road, and there's a big difference there. But you've got to continue, ideally for us, your defense can travel with you and can play hard and can be united and play tough regardless of where you're at.
On the barn experience, we've talked about the crowds. Just as a father, having my kids there, I told you off the air, I think they cleared Mara Braun out of anything she was autographing after that Illinois game. But one thing I think women's basketball has done great, Gophers in that conversation as well, is the accessibility to the players. And whether it's right after the game by the tunnel, whether it's after the game section 103, there's always at least one player signing autographs there, right? And the stuff in game for kids specifically, I think that makes a big difference. And I've seen that throughout the Big Ten. Women's hoops to me is one of the best fan experiences, certainly for a family and a father, that you can have out there.
I would agree with that, and the tickets don't cost very much.
That's the other thing.
It's a great value.
It's unbelievable value. You get great Goldie per capita, right? Because Goldie's omnipresent, but I think the players get it as well. And I always bring up the Nebraska example. My first year, all of a sudden they come out and there's Alexis Markowski from Lincoln, right? And we're doing it here. Mara Braun, Chaska, Amaya Battle, Hopkins. I'm not going to name all of them. Sorry if I omitted them. I know the parents watch, but you get my point. Like, that matters, I think, to people, and your kids do a great job with that.
I think our young ladies do a tremendous job. Had a great semester in the classroom, do a great job in the community, and all those little things matter. You know, you have an opportunity to impact others. We had our Special Olympics opportunity, Special Olympics game, I think, for the Illinois game, and that was incredible. And we had the Special Olympian, the athlete of the day, was down in the locker room with us after the game. And so, just our young ladies are great role models. They're great young women, and so I think it's a great opportunity to come out and watch as often as possible. And how many games do we have left at home? Is it 6?
I'd have to look. Not enough. And my kids were mad. They went to 3 games in a row, including the Wisconsin game. And it's not because they love your ball screen coverages, right?
Really?
I mean, my 10-year-old might. He's looking into it. My 8- and 6-year-old, they don't know.
Do you know that we had 21 assists on 30 made field goals in the last game? So,
my 10-year-old would know.
Would he know that?
My 10-year-old actually would know, but they were mad when they couldn't come to the Rutgers game because it's a Wednesday night, it's a school night. But so I'm going to have to make a concession the 22nd against Michigan, the next home game at the barn, because they were
be a good ranked game, and we're going to talk about that. See, look, you're doing such a good job at this role right now. He's deep teasing for something we have in our final segment, but we have to burn a TV timeout right now. When we return, Amaya Battle is going to join the set, and we're going to talk about her offensive explosion and just her overall leadership for this young Gophers team. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to the Gopher Coaches Show. I'm Ahmad, Hicks, Justin Gaard, Dawn Plitzuweit, and now Amaya Battle joins the set, the junior guard from Minnesota. First of all, thank you for joining us. You're having a great year so far. Talk to us about your offensive explosion, your confidence, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, this year has been really fun. It's been a great year. We have a lot of new people I've played with before, people I haven't, and we've just been having a great time on the court together. I mean, we just really have fun. Like, we all like each other. We hang out with each other off the court, so I feel like on the court you can see it, but we just have a great time.
Talk about this growth of this basketball program from when you were here as a freshman to now. Rough start your freshman season, now off to a 16-1 start. Just talk about what it took mentally to get over that hump and be where you guys are now.
Yeah, it's a crazy jump. A lot of it comes with experience. I think coming into college, I was really naive because I was like, oh yeah, we can be good, like whatever. But I mean, we still can be. I just didn't realize like all the work you had to put in and like all the little things that I didn't really pay attention to in high school really do matter here. And I think Donnie P like preaches that a lot about the little things, like not just in basketball, but taking care of your body, like what you eat and all that. So just paying attention to little details like that is kind of what's been propelling us through.
Coach, I'm sure we asked you this last year when Amaya joined the show, but the word growth that she just brought up, now that you're in your second year with her, in terms of the details, the little things, what type of growth have you seen from her?
Well, it's incredible. It's really been fun to watch. But we always say this, there's no growth in the comfort zone, and there's no comfort in the growth zone. So while Amaya's game and her leadership are growing, I'm sure it's not very comfortable for her. It's just not. It's hard. It's hard to do those kind of things. But if you look, let's start on the defensive end for us. Amaya is someone who has an increased defensive role for us. It shows up, some of it shows up in the stat sheet. Her rebounding has increased, her steals have increased. But more than that, our team is better defensively because she's helping a lot more. She's putting us in really good positions. And then we talked about in the Rutgers game, we put her on Destiny Adams, and we practiced one time a pin down screen and how we wanted to guard it, but you had to guard it one way for Kyomi McMillan if she played. You have to guard it a different way if it was Destiny Adams. And then the very first time Amaya was in that situation, she guarded it correctly. So that's a growth area. She's continuing to get better. On the offensive end, it's really, really impressive. You know, in her freshman year, when you look at it, I think her assist to turnover ratio was 1.2 to 1. Right. So she had more assists than turnovers. Her sophomore year, that grew to 1.4 to 1. At this point in time in her junior year, it's 2.5 or 2.7, something along those lines, which is impressive. You know, you look at where she's come as a shooter. You know, her freshman season, she took made four arc shots. Made 4 arc shots. It was 4 of 12 in her freshman season. Right now, she's taking more than 3 per game, and is shooting at a 37% clip. You know, and so there's just incredible growth. That's not easy to do, but it's also pretty uncomfortable for her. But I think she's doing it and starting to get more comfortable, and then continue to attack in a lot of different ways. So
3 of 6 behind the arc versus Rutgers. Can you talk to us about where that confidence came from in your jump shot and your offensive ability? Was it a conversation you had with Coach Plitzuweit, or maybe your older brother, or just something you looked in the mirror and said, I'm going to do better this year at this?
Well, my shot has always been something I wanted to get better at, like my whole career. I've never been a great shooter. So each year in the off season, I'm kind of like, all right, I want to always work on my shot. Like, that's something I want to do. And I think this off season, I really focused on just form shooting, like just getting my form right. And I got a lot of reps at that, so it kind of is starting to translate now. And then last year, I remember Donnie P was like, you miss in practice, then you make in practice, then you miss in, I don't know, a game, making a game, something like that. And so I missed a lot. Yeah, I know the point. I don't remember how it said. And so I was missing a lot last year, and I feel like I'm starting to get to that making point this year. So just kind of trusting the process.
Good.
Yeah, the players are getting the gist of what you're saying, Coach. Grace, with the story about the monkey and the elephant. Right. They're getting the gist of it. Take us through last year when Mara gets hurt and you guys go on the WNIT run, and you played spectacularly, you know, really getting to the basket a lot. We've already talked about your 32 points against Rutgers. What did that kind of unlock for you that you've carried forward to this season?
I think it showed I can play. I didn't realize I could do all the things I did during that run. So it definitely gave me some confidence and stuff I can look back at and be like, oh, I actually did do that. So I know I can do it. And it's definitely helping me propel to this year.
So with all the options that you have, I mean, we talk about Grace, we talk about Mallory, we talk about Ani. What's that like as a point guard?
It's a field day.
I would feel like yeah,
it's so much fun.
You should have 2.5 to assist ratio, right? I mean, you got a lot of options, but I think that speaks to the depth of your team. So what's that like as you're kind of directing that traffic?
It's so much fun. I remember one practice, Aaron was like, you had Dal wide open here, but I was like, yeah, G open right here too. It's you can't go wrong. They're both great shooters, and then you have a post who can shoot too. Different look. It's so much fun. There's so many options out there.
You're smiling a lot right now. Seems like you're having a lot of fun this season. Can you talk to us about your leadership role amongst the team and keeping players like Taylor Woodson and Mara Bryan tied together with the team through their injury process?
Yeah, I think they do a great job of staying involved. Mara's definitely a voice I hear all the time. And me and Tay have been best friends since 7th grade, so it's a voice I'm going to hear whether I want to or not. And she's always got something to say too, so I think they do a great job of staying involved. I think a lot of people on the team have been really good leaders. G's really stepped up into the leadership role, and Ani coming in has brought a new leadership role with us. So I kind of just try and look at what they do, because I want to do what they do, because they do a really good job at leading this team.
Final question I have for you before we have to burn another TV timeout. How good can this team be if you guys just stay together and play as one?
I think we'd be really good. I think Donnie P talks about it all the time. I don't know if people really see it yet. I think the people in this gym, in this locker room see it, but that's all that matters, that we see it, and I think we're going to be really good. All
right, well, you keep having fun, keep that smile on your face. The team is off to a great start right now. That's point guard Amaya Battle. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you later on this season, maybe?
Yes.
All right, cool. She just promised you. We'll see her later on this season. More Gopher Coaches Show coming up on the other side of the break. Welcome back to the Gopher Coaches Show. We're in our final segment here. Ahmad, Hicks, Justin Gaard, Coach Plitzuweit. Coach, a big test coming up for you guys. A top 10 matchup, well, a top 10 opponent in Maryland. What do you say to your team to psych them up for a game like that, or should they already be psyched up?
Well, I think they understand the level of opponent that they're playing. Now it's a matter of what can we do to give ourselves the best opportunity to compete for as many possessions, ideally for every single possession, throughout the course of that matchup. And what do we have to do to be a team that goes on the road and plays to the best of our ability? And those are things that are really challenging because your opponent is who they are, and they're really talented, and they're really tough, and they have done really well during the course of this season.
And have a lot of players, right? And a lot of depth. I mean, I wrote down Schmeichel, Sellers, McDaniel. That's like less than half of their impactful players, which you already know. So what are the challenges there? They steal the ball 8 times a game as well. They're always pretty good defensively. It seems like they always want to play fast, especially at home.
They do. And so the thing that we saw in the Rutgers game is that Rutgers played really, really fast. A lot of teams in the Big Ten play really fast. Maryland is one of those teams as well. And what Maryland does a great job in transition of doing is they attack you, but they score it at about 1.8 points per possession. And so that's among the best in the nation. Not only are they playing fast, but they're being efficient in doing those kind of things.
Just under a minute left in the show. What do you say to your team about all the matchups and the opportunities that they're about to have, traveling to the West Coast, taking on a Juju Watkins and things like that? How do you tell them not to overlook the moment?
Well, it's a great question. One of our we have 3 expectations in our program. Be your best, be thankful, and enjoy the precious present. So we're in the moment at this point in time, whatever that today is the day that we're attacking, getting better at us and starting to work on our next opponent. And then, you know, we can go into a full opponent prep. At the same time, while we're doing that, we're still working on it. So for us, it's one of our core beliefs, it's one of our core expectations to enjoy the moment, be in the moment, and take advantage of doing that each day. 20
seconds, Justin, you got anything?
No, I'm enjoying the moment watching this team. And I'm not trying to sell tickets. It's not my job, but I'll do it.
Right.
And it's a fun team to watch. We've had Grace, we've had Amaya on this show. It's going well right now, and it's a fun team to watch compete. And I think those that have come out have appreciated that. I think you would agree.
His message, get to a game if you haven't been to a game.
You'll see my kids. Just to watch my kids while I'm working. Please get to a game to make sure they're behaving themselves.
Oh, JG, you're a treat, man. Dawn Plitzuweit, thank you so much for joining us again. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. That's the Gopher Coaches Show. We'll see you all again.